Thanks for joining us on the NBC Connecticut YouTube page. I'm Mike Heidick, along with Representative Rosa Rebimbas. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, sir.
She's from Naugatuck, a Republican. We're talking about upgrading the rail line in the Naugatuck Valley. You are part of, remind me of the name of the caucus.
The Waterbury Rail Line caucus.
Okay, and the goal is to eventually get reliable rail all the way, eventually, years down the road, Torrington all the way down to Derby, right?
Absolutely, all the way down to Shelton, Derby, correct.
All right, so what is the concern with the current rail line now? We have stops in Waterbury and Derby and a bunch of others, Naugatuck along the way.
Yep, there's a lot of concerns, unfortunately. One is certainly our equipment is very old, so we unfortunately are having breakdowns of the rail system, which then delays individuals. We don't have enough frequent service, so if someone misses the time, obviously, to catch the train, what's going to happen is they're waiting anywhere between 2 to 2.5 hours for the next one.
Right, so if you miss your train, you miss an 8 o'clock train, you're sitting there at 10 waiting for the next train.
Unfortunately,
right.
and again, with the service that we currently have, even when we're talking about doing the transfer and going straight into New York, a lot of times we have more going out, but then you're going to get stuck in New York, you can't come back in.
Right, so that's a difficult thing. So how do you convince somebody, whether it's the federal government or the state government, to say, look, we can use more service? Can you take surveys of people who live in the valley and say, look, I would use the train if we had service, every hour on the hour or every half hour on the half hour? I mean, how can you, if there's not, it's like a chicken and egg theory. If there's not enough riders, you're not going to add more trains.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can do those surveys, and we already have. And I think what we can look at is past history. So first and foremost, when we added a line back in 2007, there was an increase of 34% ridership in and of itself. And that's with the service that we have right now. Also in the past 15 years, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it went up to like 95%. So, I mean, there's so much that we obviously could potentially show, and we've got the facts. I mean, we've got well over hundreds of acres of unused property that could be developed from old brownfields, et cetera. We've got developers right now lined up with plans. So when you've got people who want to ride the rail, when you've got developers who actually want to invest along the rail line, I mean, it's certainly, in my humble opinion, it's a no-brainer, and it's time that we have to modernize, because again, even the individuals who are currently using the rail, they can't get to work if the rail is consistently breaking down, and unfortunately, that's what's happening. And
2 hours from train to train. So if you drive down Route 8 and you go through the Naugatuck Valley, you can see the rail right next to the river there. And you can also see the older factories that were there years ago when Connecticut was in its manufacturing heyday. Can this actually make new business be more attractive to that area?
No question about it. And when you talk about, well, how are we going to make this attractive? We can just show what's happened with the other rail lines throughout the state of Connecticut. So the fact that the valley right now has open space and we can redevelop a lot of those old brownfields, the time is right, and we've got the developers, we've got the ridership. Now we just have to make sure that we get the wheels in motion.
So where do we go from here? You have this proposal on the table, you have the caucus together. Where does it go in the State House? What's next?
Yep, so we were very fortunate. We got a public hearing. I think obviously the chairs and the ranking members of the Transportation Committee for giving us the opportunity to go up there and share with them what we're looking for. And certainly, in my humble opinion, and I think it's just factual to be completely honest, the economic boom that will be felt throughout the state of Connecticut, I mean, this is the time to do it there. So from now, certainly the committee will have to vote something out. We hope that they will incorporate the language of the request that we have. And if that is successfully then voted out of the committee, more likely than not, it'll probably go over to the Finance Committee, and then we'll certainly take it from there.
Speaking of finance, last question, how do you pay for it?
Well, certainly this is a time for us all to get back together again. Tolls are off the table, but we never needed tolls for rail. We have low federal interest loans that addresses rail specifically. I think we absolutely need to tap into that, no question about it. I think that would be the best, certainly the best way to go. But this is a time for us all to sit down and have those serious conversations and invest in our future.
Representative Rosa Rebimbas from Naugatuck, thanks for joining us on Face the Facts.
Thank you for having me.
This is Face the Facts with NBC Connecticut.